Welcome to episode 225.
You're listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast, where you'll learn the underground, closely guarded secrets that will revolutionize your real estate business. This podcast is all about helping you exit the real estate newbie zone and enter financial freedom, building up your real estate throne. This is Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast. And now your host, real estate investor, entrepreneur, world traveler, and nationwide mentor, Chris Bruce.
How are you doing, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Escaping the REI Newbie Zone. I'm your host, Chris Bruce, and today's episode on this Good Friday is going to be for one of my personal students. All right. As you know, I do have a mentoring program right now. We're all full because I'm assisting all of my clients and making sure that they get results. But I always like to highlight the ones that take the action, the ones that put the grind in and go through, the process and get to that closing table. All right. Not everybody gets to that closing table. But the one thing is that I always want to highlight the ones that do, because those are the ones that not only take the action and do exactly what I tell them to do and go above and beyond that as well, but they're also the ones mentally that knows what it takes to get to that level. And so what I wanted to do was on this episode is bring on a guest of mine who is my student that I'm working with currently, and she's a female. All right. I know you've heard a lot of stories about some of the men that have been successful in business. And of course, I've had some women entrepreneurs that have been on the show as well, too. But, like I told you in our last week interview, I said I want to highlight more women because I think that there are more women that are coming to this industry that are crushing it, that are giving men a run for their money. And I want to highlight more of them. All right. Because I know we have some female listeners and I know you want to be inspired. And listen. It doesn't matter about male or female, honestly, at the end of the day, because we're all a human and we all have our strengths. We all have our weaknesses. All right. But I want to highlight this woman because she is amazing. And she talks about, the success she has, but she also talks about the struggles and the things of every day talking ourselves out of the business and thinking that, I don't know if we should even continue with this because things aren't always going my way. But she talks about those battles and how she got over those things and how she ended up landing her first deal, what she used, the strategy, how she got it done and sold it and made some significant money, a 5-figure check. Okay, so let me go ahead and wait no further and bring on my special guest today, who's based out of Richmond, Virginia. Let me introduce her, Chandra Minter. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video. I don't want to call this a video testimony, even though this one kind of is, but we're going to talk today. I have a very special guest that is on this video today. She is a client of mine. She has been absolutely taking immediate action, and this is why she has the results that she has. So she's going to tell a little bit about her story. I want to, bring her on to really inspire a lot of you investors, especially women, because this lady here is the definition of a hard worker, a hard hustler. And, when you go out there and put the work in, the results will come. So let me wait no further and introduce everyone to the world. Chandra. How you doing, Chandra?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to get you on here. I know you were always busy at the gym or something at this time of the day, so glad to get you on here. So tell me, for the listeners that are out here that's watching this, tell me a little bit about where you were before real estate and how'd you even think about getting into wholesaling?
So before getting into wholesaling, my full-time job before getting into wholesaling was in the mortgage industry. So I knew the lending side of mortgages. It was on the traditional side of things. So I didn't know, anything about being able to, finding properties off market or anything like that. And then around July, I want to say, my company that I worked for partnered with another company, and they gave me the option to take a severance or to go with a new company. And I had known for a year or so that I kind of wanted to go off on my own and do something else. So I decided to just take the severance and just believe that I could make something happen. So that was around August. So around the end of August, I had, a couple of people, I think 3 times it came up, wholesaling. And when I first heard about it, actually I had heard of wholesaling, and it was not something that I wanted to do at all. But, kind of when your back is kind of against the wall and you told yourself, that you can do this, you're going to not have to go back to a job, you're going to make it work. I decided to look into wholesaling. So originally I purchased another kind of program.
Okay.
But I needed a little bit more. So that's, I think in September, I ended up coming across your site and your YouTube channel. And I just was listening to some of your testimonials and connected, especially with the one lady that had also decided she had gotten laid off and she wanted to do it. And so my goal was to, or it still is, to use wholesaling and the strategy of finding off-market properties to, number one, build capital, and then number 2, begin to use both the capital and the properties that I find off market and start building my own portfolio of properties.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow, that's crazy that so your situation is definitely similar to Linda's. Her, she got fired or let go or whatever, and you decided to go ahead and do the same thing. So before we get into the whole deal and everything, how does that, where do you get that mindset from? A lot of people would be like, shitting bricks. Like, man, I don't have a job anymore, secure, money coming in, I'm going to take this risk.
Well, so about 2 years ago, I really started to learn the value of getting help from other people. So I went through a whole, health journey, weight loss journey, and in the midst of getting that help, it required me to structure my life more.
Gotcha.
As far as getting enough sleep, eating properly, make sure I move, make sure all these things, and it just requires you to make sure you fulfill every portion of your day. So it led into me at my old job realizing that I'm not really working 8 hours a day.
Okay.
And that, so I was really only working maybe 4 to 5 hours on my actual paid job. And I started thinking man, I am wasting time with these 3 hours. I really started to think I want my time back.
Right.
It's not healthy me sitting here at a desk all day. It just kind of went into everything. And so over, I say the course of a year, it just got stronger. I really want my time back. And I just kind of mentally kept saying that. I started listening to podcasts, just motivational people. And at the end of the day, the decision came, well, you've been asking for this. Here's your opportunity to do it. And for me, I have to prove it to myself.
Right.
A job can always lay me off.
Yep.
Even if I decided to go back to another job, I want to make sure that I have what they call FU money, so that if I get to the point again where I'm wasting time, I have money in the bank to say, or another business going on to say, I don't have to continue to work here. Right. And that goes for a lot of other situations, but it was just more so believing that in myself, just believing that I can do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's good, because the thing is people are seeing this happen, especially with the government shutdown right now. Yeah. You cannot, people think, oh, government job is always safe. We good. We're always going to get paid. And look what's happening now, so I'm glad you touched on that. It's about betting on yourself and going out there and just securing what people say, securing your own bag. So, okay. So let's talk about this real, okay. So you got the program, you start doing some different marketing. You got this deal. What marketing strategy was successful for you to get this deal?
This was a cold call.
Okay.
So it was a combination of a cold call and a door knock. So I got the call, talked to the lady. It was like a home run. It's one of those deals where you're like, okay, this is the one. This is going to be my deal.
Right.
And I talked to her once or twice, and then she stopped answering my phone calls. So then I decided to go over to her house, because our conversation went more so like, okay, I'm a widow. I have no children. I would only be using this money for myself. I only want, X amount of dollars for this property. I had already done my numbers. I knew that I could make a decent amount off of this deal. So I wanted to, and I knew she was motivated. She was motivated to sell.
Okay. What was the reason? Hold on. Speaking of that, what was her reason that she wanted to sell?
She was just ready to move on. It's an older lady.
Okay.
It's the house that she and her husband lived in throughout their entire marriage. So for 40 years. Okay. And her husband, when her husband passed away, she moved out and moved into one of those retirement communities. Okay. And she just, it had a lot of sentimental value, but she was ready to kind of, let that go. It had been over, I think, 12 years since her husband passed, so she was ready to move on.
Wow. Dang, that's great. Damn, 12 years. Whew.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people to target 65 and older, because you run into situations like that. Okay, so let's fast forward. Okay, so you cold call with a combination of door knock. You get this property under contract. Was it hard negotiation? Was it hard to get her to?
It wasn't hard. So it was uncomfortable because it was my first time going over the contract. I went over it maybe 2 or 3 times myself just to make sure I would understand what I was telling her, because I could tell she was a very, very with it older lady. I knew she was going to ask some questions about the contract. So I wanted to make sure that I understood everything. And pretty much I just kind of gave long answers, hoping that I answered all of her questions in one. And, she gave me her offer, and I knew kind of what I wanted it to be going over there. And I just kind of, against the book, never split the difference. We split the difference.
Oh, man.
We split the difference, but it was only like maybe $2,000 that I came down. So for my first deal, I didn't think that was too bad.
Yeah, no, it's not too bad. Okay, so you got this deal, you agree with her, you put under contract, and then what did you do to acquire this buyer?
So this particular house, she had taken out, I guess, the majority of the things that she used in her daily life. Okay. And then I guess bought everything else new. There was still some furniture in the house. There were a lot of clothes. And when we went to look in the house, I'm thinking, it'll only take like a couple of weeks for me to come help her go through these clothes. And what we did was we put everything in a keep, donate, or trash pile, like category. Yeah. And I would do that once a week for 2 hours every time. Nice. Well, we get to the end of everything that's in the main level, because it was a ranch style house. Okay. But I think it's about 1,000 square feet. But there was an attic that was also full of her stuff that I hadn't looked at. So when we went into the attic and started pulling everything out, that ended up taking another 4 weeks.
And she wanted to keep a lot of stuff too, didn't she?
Yeah, and she kept a lot of stuff. She kept a lot of stuff. So it ended up, I think I got that property under contract on October 23rd.
Okay.
That next week we started. And it may have taken 2 full months. It took about 2 full months for us to get everything out. And we just closed on that this week.
Wow. Okay. So one thing I do want to mention that you did do, which is great, and everybody wants you to take notes on this, is that Chandra didn't just come in there about getting the price and this. Like, she actually went in there and offered her services, her time, to make sure the seller got everything out. That is very important, guys, when you are doing transactions. Understand that this is a people business and you are helping people. So don't be afraid to lend a hand with, helping them move out, or helping, like she did, get some, some stuff into a storage or trash it or whatever. Going the extra mile is why people will end up, doing a deal with you, period, because they feel comfortable with you. They see that you're not just in it for some money. They know you're going to make some money, but you're not just in it just for the money. So that's great. I definitely want to point that out. All right. So you took the buyer. I wanted to get on that point. How did you find this buyer? Did you know the buyer already?
I did. I met the buyer briefly before getting this property under contract with him. So he had actually called me about a property that I own. Okay. He wanted to buy it. And after talking to him and explaining to him that I'm also a wholesaler, we decided to meet and kind of our strategy was, he's a guy, I'm a female, and he said, it's good to network with people because there may be deals that he needs to send to me to get under contract just because I'm a woman. And there may be deals that I need a male presence for to be able to get under contract, which we had a deal like that the guy barely even talked to me. But when he came and, offered his services, and the guy went a little bit further, we weren't able to get it under contract, but it's just a, example of that, how that works.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, after leaving that meeting, I knew the types of properties that he was looking for, the price range. And so pretty much the day that I got that property under contract with the seller, I called him, told him about the property, and we were able to lock it down the same day as well. So I locked down the seller and the buyer the same day.
Okay. And I know some people are going to be wondering, okay, what type of lead source did you use to find the deal? Was it a vacant? Was it like...
It was a vacant.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I know everybody's going to ask. Everybody asks, what lead source? I'm like, listen, all lead sources work, damn it. Just do the work. Okay, so it's a vacant property on the vacant list. Okay. So you got the deal under contract. You have the buyer. All right. Fast forward. I do want to talk about one thing. You want, how much money did you want to make on this deal?
I wanted to make $10,000 on this deal.
All right, and you were supposed to make how much?
I was supposed to make. I made $7,500.
Yeah, you made $7,500, but you could have made definitely.
I could have made more than $10,000. But my goal was to make $10,000. So I ended up allowing the buyer to negotiate the price down. Yeah. And because it was my first deal, I'm on a high, I was just like, okay, y'all go take that number. Yeah. So I ended up getting $7,500 instead of $10,000.
So what did he use to negotiate with you? Did he say the repairs needed a little bit higher?
He just said, in order for this to work for me, I need to get it at $40,000. And I think I quoted him 45. So he talked me down. Well, he didn't really talk me down. He asked 5,000 less. Okay. So I could have made, what is that, 12,000
right
on that deal. But I just said okay.
Okay. So one thing I do say, there's goods and bads to it. So the good thing is you learn that people, because how much money did he end up making?
He ended up making $14,000 on the deal.
So guys, understand, listen, sometimes you got to hold your guns with some of these buyers because they're wholesalers too. All right. So he ended up making $14,000. But look, I want to say on this case study, it's good and bad. So one, yes, you could have made a lot of money, right? You could have made more money in a deal. Absolutely. But I will say, the good thing is that people can take from this is that it was enough spread in the deal for you to still make that $7,500. See, right. Some people, when they get properties in the contract, they're priced so thin and small. If he talked you down, you wouldn't make nothing but $1,000, $2,000. And some, when I see people with checks that put up, which is nothing wrong with, I see people put up checks of $1,000, $2,000, and I'm like, that's great. You got your first deal over. But I don't want to make $1,000, $2,000. I want to make 5, 8, 10, 15, 20 and up. And that's the reason why that's happening, guys, is probably because you're not pricing it at enough spread. All right. I told Chandra plenty of times, listen, if you're not afraid to make the offer, it is too damn high.
Well, that's funny because I kept thinking that my offer was too low. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not doing these numbers right. And that's when you came and told me, you were like, well, if it doesn't scare you to make the offer, then the offer's not low enough. So then I realized I was doing it right. I was just afraid to make the offer.
Yep. You got to have that spread, because that's the thing, is that when it's an adjustment time for the renegotiation, there's still enough room for you to still make your money. So you're still able to make $7,500 because that room was there. So that's the good thing about it. That's why I say it's a good and bad thing, is that you're still able to profit at the end of the day and get that first deal closed. So how does it feel? Like, how does it feel to get that first one, that first one off finally?
It feels good. It lets me know, like, even after watching thousands of other people tell their stories of how they do it month after month, week after week, day after day, that it works. Yeah. That as long as you do something, literally, as long as you do something, go through the motions, it'll work. It'll pay off eventually. Right. Because I didn't want to do this. Yeah. I didn't want to do wholesale. And I remember telling you like a couple of times, like, yeah, I woke up not wanting to do this. And then I got to the point where I was like, well, I guess it's getting better. I didn't want to quit today, like I do every other day. Right. But literally, this was me just going through the motions. It wasn't, up until recently, there was no passion behind it. There was no, I wasn't even focused on the money. It was just, I told myself I wouldn't fail. Right. So even though this may not be something that I want to do, I may not even want to do it long term. I know that it's beneficial to do it long term now. It's just going through the motions. Going through the motions will get you to where you want to be eventually. Absolutely. You just have to keep sticking it out. Yep, absolutely. And that's the thing. A lot of times too, it's just that mental battle. It's that, conversation between the ears tell us, oh, I don't know. You don't need to do it. And, you had that conversation back and forth. But the best thing I tell everybody to do is that if you invest any type of money, heck, if you invest any type of time into this, especially a lot of time, at least get it back. At least get your return on your investment. You can decide then after you close the deal and say, this is really not for me. I want to do something else. And that's fine. But at least get your return on your investment so you can say you did it. I get upset when people quit. I get upset when people just give up. I say there's no failure unless you give up. Right. At least you're already into it. At least get your money's worth. Make something, and then like I said, decide if you don't do it anymore. That's fine. Move on to the next thing. I mean, the thing that I'm learning about it is wholesaling is something that if you want to get into real estate or stay in real estate for whatever reason, it's a skill you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
For learning the negotiation, for learning, how to deal with sellers, but also learning numbers on the buyer side. Right. Learning when they go to resell the property, if that's what they're going to do, what numbers to factor in on that end, so that let's say you want to then do something like that,
Absolutely
what numbers you need to be looking at for a property for yourself, or all the other millions of ways that you can deal with real estate. It's just always best to know how to get the property off market and below market value.
Absolutely. I mean, the best deals are happening off market. So absolutely. Okay. So for anybody that's watching, and I don't know when I'm gonna release this video at this time, I don't have any more spots for mentoring. I'm just letting you guys know. But if I do happen to open spots one time, and for people that's listening, would you recommend the mentoring program to anybody?
I would. If you are someone who has some knowledge of wholesaling, and you maybe need a little bit of extra help, because you literally get one-on-one. I will tell you though, it's what you make it. So if you feel like you're struggling, don't be afraid to reach out. Like Chris is, if you ask the question, he will have an answer for you. Even if he doesn't know the answer, he will get the answer. He's got, tons of people that he works with. So I would say, just like with anything else, you're only going to be successful if you do what you are told, or if you do what you need to do. Right. So for anyone who is motivated and really either wants to start or take their wholesaling to the next level, I would definitely recommend the mentoring program.
Gotcha. And for anybody that has some deals in Richmond, some other areas around Virginia, how can they holler at you and get in contact with you?
So I guess they could reach out to me on Facebook, and it's just my name, Chandra Minter, on Facebook, and they can send me a message.
Perfect. All right, well, I'm not going to hold up any more of your time. Chandra, you are amazing. I do want to say thank you. You've put the work in. You've done everything above and beyond of things I told you to do, and it shows with getting this first deal. So, first of many to come, I would say that.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast at www.escapethenewbiezone.com.